Welcome, Crown Jewels, aka CJ. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Just listen to the new EP. I love it. Please give us that background. Where you grew up, how did you fall in love with music? Who were like some of your heroes, or what was your path to want to make music?
I grew up in Dallas, Texas, which is very different than LA, where I've been for, since I was about 19, honing in on my sound and kind of what I want to do musically here. Texas definitely had an effect on that because of the fact that, it was so conservative. I discovered punk rock, I would say around like 11 or 12 in middle school, and that kind of changed everything for me in growing up in such a conservative and restrictive place, and discovering bands like X and Exploited and the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and what they're all about, and to the establishment and breaking the rules. Coming from where I come from, was a really big deal, and it may sound cheesy to some, being from LA.
Texas, the Lone Star State, it's the good old boy country. Yeah. It's like tradition and cowboys and ranches and stuff.
I have friends in LA, they're like, oh, that's not a big deal. I'm like, but it's a big deal when you're, me at 13 dyeing my hair pink and having piercings in Texas, when I was 13 years old and listening to punk. That was a big thing. To my friends out here, that was what everybody did, but it's totally different. We were very much the minority, not the majority when it came. Yes, we were. There were 30 of us that would go to the Galaxy Club in Deep Ellum and hear, different people come play from
law enforcement had to keep their eye on you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just, Circle Jerks, AFI back in the day when Davey was like a little baby, like all that, it was great, Rancid, everybody. So that definitely had a huge influence on me musically and what I wanted to do. And I was always in musical theater, and that was sort of how I started into singing. But when I discovered punk, that sort of showed me that I could take, poetry that I've been writing, turn that into songs, and then have my own personal voice musically. And so I really decided at that point, I really would think that LA is going to be more my flavor when I'm finally able to get out there.
Yeah. So did you start by playing covers, or did you just start writing and kind of crafting?
No, I just started. I was always writing. I've always, first and foremost, I always say I'm a songwriter. Like, I can sing. I've been a singer since I've been singing with, vocal coaches and not professionally, but working towards professionally since I was 7. But even before that, I was writing poetry, and I was always the kid that had like the little diary, and it wasn't just like, I like Johnny and he kicked me in the shins on the playground type stuff. It was more like I was always writing these, almost what like you could see were going to be future songs. They were their own poems within their own right, and I was always very strong in English in school and very driven to that, and not at all to math and science at all. So,
well, we talk about the punk rock bands, but was there like a female singer or writer that you kind of aspired to?
I mean, as very young, I was very much influenced by Joan Jett and Janis Joplin. I was always a huge fan of growing up. My dad had us listening to amazing music from when I was very little. The first concert he ever took me to was Santana and ZZ Top at the State Fair. They were playing when he'd take us to the fair, and he was like, girls, we're going to stop in and see this show. And we were really little, and we were like, what show? We want to go on, the Ferris wheel and go get cotton candy and stuff. And he was like, we're going to take a few hours. And I'm really glad that he did, because it was awesome, And then I remember seeing Bon Jovi with him, and growing up, he was always going to see like the Stones, and if Bob Dylan was touring, like my dad's the kind of dad that will never miss one of those types of shows. He has good music taste, so I was lucky with that. And then for me personally, David Bowie and Freddie Mercury are enormous influences for me. Always have been. Joan Jett and Blondie has a huge influence of mine. I get a lot of comparison to Blondie, and also Gwen Stefani. When I was young, she was one of the first girls I saw really doing rock in a while. I had, she was kind of like the resurgence, I feel like, after people like Blondie and Joan Jett kind of being a rock front woman that I think was important for people to see at that time, which I think, is important for people to see now, and I don't think there's that many rock front women out there, and I think there should be more. Yeah,
no question. It's great to see Joan get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year, and a lot of the Runaways still doing their thing. Lita Ford, Shree Curry, and all that.
I always say I'm a little Joan, I'm a little Shree,
Yeah. There you go. And speaking of ZZ Top and Santana, these bands are still doing their thing.
They're
Santana's got the big reunion thing going, all the original members, and they go all the way back to Woodstock, and they're still thriving. Carlos is got that independent spirit, and ZZ Top just, what a legacy for Texas. And
they're from Dallas area actually. It's they're a kid I grew up with, really close ex-boyfriend's best friend's parents. His mother dated one of the members of ZZ Top in high school, and they actually got kicked out apparently of Irving High for having long hair because they wouldn't cut their hair. And that was the whole start of the thing. Isn't that funny? So Texas definitely has a history, but my biggest influences in music are definitely David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, Tom York, and Radiohead specifically. His writing ability, his innate use of melodies, just everything, and Blondie. Those are, I would say, my strongest.
Sure. I mean, it's incalculable the influence that Bowie's had, and it's sad that it took his passing for a lot of people to really look at the history and look at how fearless he was, and how just the trailblazing and a free spirit. I mean, you can almost trace the whole foundation of the whole alternative world, to Bowie.
There's a huge, definitely, I love the mix of, like I said, I did musical theater for years, so the mix of, theatrics in with the music, the gender fluidity, and, the not having to subscribe to the conventional gender roles. My album, California King, is all about that. I often get asked a lot of questions about, oh, but you've got these pop star type pictures, but, this king type, attitude with the front cover, and you're making a very strong statement saying a woman being king, and that's a nod very much to Bowie, in that sense, because he very much was like that, challenging, conventional ways, going on stage and putting on a pop level stage show, but with a rock musician, so that it's not choreographed and it's off the cuff. And I'm very much in line with that same type of school of thought. That's very much how I feel about the performance I like to put on. So he's a huge influence. I mean, you heard Free says I want to be like Bowie in the 70s. I wrote that song 3.5 years ago. It as an homage to him. So it just, the album coming out when it did, so close to his passing, was just sort of an eerie timing for me, and it was almost hard. I almost didn't want to put it out there because I didn't know if it would come off across the wrong way. But that song had been such a part of me, and I'd already been performing it for the past year, and it's a great song. I was really proud of it. I think it really speaks to who I think Bowie. I hope Bowie would be proud. I hope I made Bowie proud.
Absolutely. And speaking to Cherie Curry, being from the area here, she went and saw Bowie at the Universal Amphitheater right up the block here on the Diamond Dogs tour, and said not only changed her life, but she wanted to be in a band right after that, and basically formed the Runaways here in North Hollywood within a couple months of that.
He has that power, that lightning will never strike twice. There will never be another Bowie, just like there will never be another Freddie. These are things that will never happen again.
Well, a girl can be king and Freddie can be queen,
Exactly. There's a place for us all. It's nothing is defined the way that we truly have always said it. Nothing is harshly, I think, defined as people want it to be. I think that's what the world is starting to realize now, is there's a lot of gray area.
I saw a recent movie of Queen in '75, right as they were released at Night at the Opera, and it's just stunning. Freddie as a front man. I mean, just physically, and the voice and the way he commanded the stage is just amazing to look at, because really nobody's done it like that since.
I mean, what year? I don't want to misquote the year, but because he played Wembley multiple times, but there's the one specific time he played at Wembley Stadium, and he literally goes like this shh across the audience, and 85,000 people, as he walks inch by inch, completely go silent, and they stay silent until he brings the noise back up again, and it's no one else is ever going to be able to do that. That's it's they almost makes me cry every time I see it. Not to sound cheesy, but it's the damn truth. Who has that power, that type of enigmatic, that raw charisma is just, lightning doesn't strike twice like that. It just doesn't.
And speaking of Wembley, just seeing that Freddie Mercury tribute concert, just a who's who out there, from Guns N' Roses to
Oh yeah.
Def Leppard, Zeppelin, everybody paying tribute to him. It's amazing.
So fantastic. I love when everyone comes together to, when you get all the greats together like that. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about music is, great music like that is so timeless. It lives way past the makers of it. And so much of that music we're talking about was the 70s. It was pre-MTV. It was pre a lot of this stuff. What do you think made so much of that music from the 70s so timeless?
I actually really, I've thought a lot about this, and it is not a knock on any way to anybody writing music at this point. I just feel like that there was a lot more time spent on the songwriting process back then, and it was very much writer-driven, whereas today it's very much production and single-driven, and not as much about the lyrics and about the overall message, and people are just kind of pumping out songs on publishing labels, and there's so many co-writers involved, and artists aren't even writing their music anymore, which there's nothing wrong with any of that, but at some point there's going to be a disconnect from the person delivering it having written it and someone else, and from having spent a serious time really pre-producing and writing an album to pumping out hit after hit fast, and to me the lyrical quality is going to go down at some point, and that's
plus it seemed the artists really were more unique. They had the freedom to be themselves.
Exactly.
There was no companies telling them, well, you got to follow this and you got to look like this. Once MTV popped up, it was like they were kind of starting to manufacture the perfect hit or the perfect band.
I think there's a way to do it. There's a system. There's a formula. And while you have a lot of artists, they're incredibly talented. I feel like there's a lot of people, like you said, they're really restricted on showing their uniqueness. Now there are tons of artists out there that are so unique, that are out there showing so much uniqueness, but there's a lot of people that I feel like can't do that to a degree, and I feel like there's a certain tier you can get to by not showing as much uniqueness, whereas people that are showing more uniqueness can go maybe not as far, because it's not as mass produced. And I'm not trying to talk shit on anybody, because I respect all artists, and anybody who's anywhere working in this industry is working their buns off, and I respect you all. But I just think that there needs to be more focus on the songwriting process at this point, and I feel like a lot has been lost in the songwriting process and is being just put into the production, and I think there needs to be an equal amount of love put into all those different parts of making and creating a song or an album.
No question about it. It's sometimes it seems a little lonely going out in an uncharted territory rather than kind of follow the crowd. But all these favorite artists we talk about, they boldly went way out on a limb in their own styles. And, back then, of course, Bill Graham up in San Francisco was the king of it. They'd have these multifaceted shows. You might have a Santana playing with Black Sabbath, playing with, Dr. John and Janis. It was a mixture of styles and sounds, and everybody appreciated it more. It wasn't kind of all packaged.
Well, it's kind of, and I may get into trouble for saying this, but with something like Coachella, for instance, I've been to Coachella, I think all but 3 years since it started, maybe 4, but I think all but 3. I didn't get to go last year because I was too busy, and a couple other years when I was younger, I just think I didn't have the money on, to be honest. I was like, because the tickets are expensive.
Yeah.
But, and also I think the first year I moved out here, I didn't know about it. But, basically, like, I've been to a bunch of them, and at first when, they started having hip-hop artists come in, electronic artists come in, I remember the first year it was like, they're ruining Coachella, because it used to just only be more like some DJs that were, really underground and hip, and then, then it was more rock and alternative and indie, but they, not even just, there would only be one huge artist. Now it's all huge artists. But it's like, you know what? Now we've got hip-hop artists, and we've got major EDM artists, and we've got all kinds of people playing at Coachella, and it's really awesome. And it's starting to actually, I get the whole thing with it's ridiculously expensive and like the corporations coming in and all that, but that has nothing to do with the artists. I love the fact that the lineups are mixing genres and getting kind of just a big crazy bowl of soup of everyone, because this is awesome. Like, it makes it so cool. You get to go see your favorite hip hop artist, then you see your favorite EDM DJ, then you're rocking out with your favorite rock artist, and then you're seeing someone like Jenny Lewis playing an amazing folk set or something, and that's amazing. So I feel like it's kind of going back to a nod to that. The problem is more, I think, with how the festival is set up. It makes it very difficult for people to be able to go that, or just like kids these days. It's hard to go because it's really expensive.
But almost forces them to kind of extend their taste, or at least their exposure to some of this music they might not listen to on their one radio station.
Yeah, and then like you end up making friends, like all different types of friends. Like you're hanging out with all different types of crowds. It's like really cool, you've got rockers going to raves and ravers going to hip hop shows, and everyone's hanging out. Like that's how it should be. You know what I'm saying? It's more fun.
Well, I would say there's two kinds of music that moves you and music that doesn't. So all these categories and labels and boxes that people want to put it in is a waste of time.
I hate the question. My least favorite question is like sum up, your music in 3 bands, or sum up your music in 3 genres. It's like, come on, listen to it. Tell me what you think.
Right. It's like a lazy critic wants to have a tag.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know, because like I change it all the time. I'm like, it's like why not?
I know.
We'll see. What
and no one really wants to be compared to anything, because you really try to chart your own course and be that.
Yeah, it's great to I feel like when people say, oh wow, like because I think people have said we hear a bit of Gwen Stefani, we hear a bit of Joan Jett, we hear a bit of David Bowie, we hear a bit of Blondie. These are huge, enormous, insane compliments.
Mm-hmm.
So I compare me to them any day. I don't feel worthy. But I think these people are crazy, and I'm like, it's a blessing.
You'll take
that you
it.
would. But I feel blessed to be compared to them. I don't feel worthy, but I'll take it. But obviously every artist wants to be their own unique artist.
We'll talk a little bit about the process. You're very much into the songwriting. I know each song might be somewhat of a different path, but talk about kind of the creation of some of your favorite songs on California King and kind of how they evolved.
With me writing, I usually write songs really, really fast. 5 of the songs on the EP, every song of the California King and Cool, I did with a producer, Max Cohen. And Max and I, we always had a really... I've done another EP with him before with my last band. And he was, before I was in this project, and I don't know, we just get together and start writing. It's one of those things, I'll bring melody and lyrics, or he'll bring, a guitar line that he has, or maybe I'll come in and I'll play some chords on piano and he'll elaborate on that with guitar, or he'll come in with some lyrics. It's a really organic experience, and we usually will end up writing a song within like 30 minutes. Max and I just have it's a very quick process. Then after I did those 5 songs with him, I went to Eric Bell's and Maxwell Moon, and I was just thinking I needed to add a couple more songs, and I just felt like I didn't have this song that was like the whole concept. And we started working on some pre-production and writing, and then I was sitting on my porch at this house I used to live at in the hills. I had a really beautiful outdoor porch area with a nice palm tree, and kind of sitting there having my tea in the morning, and California King concept just came to me, and I just got the hook in my head, and I went like that day to the studio and was like, we need to like pre-produce this one and get this one a scratch laid down. And then that kind of like, even though it came on the latter end, it like laid the groundwork for the entire concept for the whole project, and it weirdly kind of completely matched everything else I'd already done, you know what I mean, as kind of like the spearheading song of the whole thing. So it just made sense. The process for me, I don't really get writer's block. I don't get frustrated or weird. I'm the kind of person, like, I feel like you can write about anything. If you don't have anything specific to write about, go look at this lamp and write about the way the lamp looks and like how it shines, or the color it is, or the shape it is, or how annoying if it's too fluorescent. Like, I don't know, like, just your brain is a muscle. Mm-hmm. Writing is something you have to exercise. Mm-hmm. And so, my process is just really organic. Often my friends see me with audio memos. Like, I'll just be putting out one-liners. I'll save, like, one-liners I come up with. I go back to it later, a week later, and a whole song comes up out of it. Sometimes I'll write 6 pages worth of stuff, and everything will just absolutely suck. But I'll go through and I'll circle one line, and that will be the one line that will create a whole song. But it's just a really organic, natural process. I just have a lot of thoughts going through my head. So I try to get them down as much as I can.
Yeah, that's great. They're like little babies. You just create and give them life. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you spent some time in Philippines. What prompted that trip, and what was that adventure like?
My best friend from high school, Nicole, she is like an intuitive body worker and healer, and I had been working on so much music, and I'd gotten out of another band I was in that was kind of like, we kind of all had bad blood at the end, and she, you know, I needed a break, and she was like, you should come to the Philippines, it'll kind of recharge your, she's like, you've been going really, you know, hard with that band, pushing that band, and did all the writing, and really worked so hard on it, and personally things didn't work out, maybe, you know, like, and it's not that I was ever thinking about quitting music, I was just in a position of, what is my next step? You know, I always been the type of person that was like, I want to be in a band, I want to tour, I want to have that family dynamic, I want to, and I thought for some reason that was what a band would be, but it's not. There's a lot of other dynamics. It's like being married to 5 or 6 other people, but there's no sex, and like, you know, there's a lot that goes into it, and I ended up, you know, I was just kind of a little bit burnt out, and she was like, you know, you need to just recharge, you know, so you can figure out, I was like, obviously I want to keep doing music, but what's my next path? So she's like, come to the Philippines with me. There's a place like I go out, and I hang out there, and I just meditate, and I surf, and just do yoga, and like hang out, and we just like eat fruit and fish, and rice, and literally just get healthy, and like, you know, breathe fresh air, and have, you know, vitamin D and the sun, and let yourself just relax. And I ended up writing majority of the album while I was out there. It was just a really good time to just recalibrate, take some time for myself in center, just to let myself breathe, you know. And then I came back with a good practice of, you know, meditation and yoga, which was awesome. So now that's, you know, something I can take with me to, which I don't use for like exercise because I work out alternatively, but for a centering, I think those kind of things like breathing and centering is really important, especially in this industry, because it can be really stressful, you know. So I learned like tools out. I learned how to be really comfortable with myself out there, and like get used to the silence in myself, which for an artist like me, I'm very, you know, boom, 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 up, you know, very lead singer-esque, very front man-esque. So this was good to learn how to get a little more quiet and chill. So for me, it was definitely a good learning and growing experience. And then I came back and ended up starting this project, and then now, you know, the people I play with, they, you know, it's a solo project, so, you know, it's different than a band dynamic per se in that sense, but this has been more of a family dynamic than I've ever had, which is the irony of the whole situation. The people I play with now have become like a surrogate family, and they're amazing, and I've been really blessed. So it's kind of weird how everything ends up working out, you know?
And tell us the creation of the Crown Jewels name.
Crown Jewels, I was looking, you know, with California King, after I wrote California King, I before the whole California King thing, I knew I wanted to go with something strong and very royal. I wanted to go with something that could be, you know, that didn't necessarily come off as feminine or masculine. It could go either way. You know, it could be strong, it could be soft, it's feminine. It could be seen either way. And so I was thinking of something like royal something, or something royal, like something with the jewels, royal jewels, or something like that. It just wasn't coming off properly. And then I wrote California King, and I was talking to my friend Victor Wild, who he's a fashion designer. He's a label called Bohemian Society, and we've done some work together. And he actually said to me, I remember being in the fashion district downtown trying to find a really cool faux fur for this, a faux fur. I said faux, everyone. I would not wear a real fur. Very important. A good faux fur. And I told him, I was like, Jewels Lux, or Royal Jewels, or I don't know, something. I'm trying to think of something, I don't know, like royal, lavish, strong, but I don't know. And he was like, what about Crown Jewels? And I was like, you know what? That makes sense. And then I told him I'd already written the song California King, and he's like, well, then everything seems to fit. And so I really owe that one to Victor. So thank you, Victor.
Amazing. Well, now the music industry is constantly evolved. In a lot of ways, it's unrecognizable from the business that was 10, 20 years ago, both with record stores and labels and MTV, and so much has changed. You know, how do you look at the industry, or the lack thereof, as far as your angle to get this out to the people directly and kind of build your following and exposure?
I think that I actually feel everyone's really, or not everyone, a lot of people are very scared of what's happening with the music industry, and rightfully so. It is in a state of kind of influx, like no one knows where it's going, or I think there's people that do, but it's definitely not me. The artists don't know where it's going yet, let's put it that way. But it's, you know, I feel blessed to be in this situation of where we are in the time period we're in, because independent artists have the power to actually put their stuff out. Whereas 20 years ago, independent artists couldn't build a social media following and have a YouTube channel and do what they're doing now and get 250 or 500,000 fans and carve out their little portion of the world and figure out their niche and their people, find their people and the people that love them that they love, and you can do that now. So I mean, let's face it, like people try. No one's going to be Lady Gaga or Rihanna. Like Lady Gaga and Rihanna or Lady Gaga or Rihanna. I'm not trying to do that. What I want to do is I just want to have my portion of my little niche, my little carved out spot of the world of fans that love what I do and I love them, and we can do that. You know, that doesn't require 8 million fans. It requires, you know, so and being an independent artist, with the way the music industry works now, it allows me to take control of my career. I'm totally independently produced. I've independently put this EP together. I've done this all entirely by myself, so I retain all the rights to myself. And you know, then doing something like a distribution deal and a publishing deal allows me to have a lot of freedom on my end to really be an artist and create, and to really have control over the image of what I want my career to be. And you see, I have a very strong image that I've created, and I'm the kind of artist that I'm very full package, and that when I create a song or an album, I see the entire concept, like coming to life. So with, you know, a lot of other people involved, I maybe wouldn't have the freedom to be able to have created what I've created. So I really feel lucky to be in where I am in the timing wise of being alive at this time and doing what I'm doing, because the fact that I can really do it the way I want to.
Sure.
And find the fans that I love and love me, you know?
Well, what advice do you have to the young creative people, the young singers and bands and all that? Because traditionally in the old school, they're all looking for a record deal. They thought someone was going to do all the work for them and give them some money and all that. But now with these independent tools, yes, you have to invest in yourself. But like you say, you're in control of your own destiny. If you fail on your own terms, you can live with that. But if somebody else puts you on a shelf and you have no say-so, that's one of the most crippling feelings ever for a creative person. So what advice do you have to them to be strong and not be afraid of investing in yourself and really going out there and building your audience, even if it seems like it's person to person and, you know, multiplying it slowly? We all know about the tortoise and the hare and who won the race.
There's exactly. This industry, everybody always says, oh, things are starting to happen for you, or blah, 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 or it seems like it's starting to all of a sudden happen overnight. It's like, no, I've been doing this since I was 19. I've been out here for years. You know, I've been working on this. People I know that have broken, you know, huge or quote unquote made it or whatever that definition is, were doing it for years. There's no overnight success. It is just as much talent combined with tenacity and drive as it is staying power. You need to have the staying power. That separates the women from the girls, the men from the boys. That is what, honestly, at the end of the day, the ones that, like, they stick it out no matter how hard it gets, that makes the difference. Because I've seen people almost be there and they cut it just a little bit too early, and it's like, if you just would have held on for a little longer, and it can be very, very tough, but you have to do what you have to do. If you want to be out there playing, if your heart and your passion is music and you have something to give to the world, you need to continue to do that. You need to believe in yourself, and you need to be strong with your vision and really stand behind who you are. It's tough, but you have to be your biggest fan and your biggest cheerleader, because trust me, nobody else is going to do it for you. But stand by yourself and believe in yourself, and there's no more gratifying feeling in the world than knowing that you are your own biggest cheerleader, and that you do stand strong on your own, and that no matter what, you're going to stand by your art, and you're going to give what you have been put here to do. You're going to give that to the world. Just keep going. Like, you get down, get up, keep going. Trust me, you will get there. You'll get there.
Well, we're so excited to see all that you do with this EP and the next release, and can't wait to see you live, and it's going to be very, very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.